of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Go on to
This conference will now be recorded.
public comments. Don't see anybody in the hall.
Do you want this?
Don't see anything on the chat box, so go ahead and move on to administrative business. In fact, I don't know. Yeah, we'll just go to administrative business.
I don't think she's,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, we should have two sets of minutes for June 15th. We had one for the regular meeting and then one for the afternoon work session.
We had a chance to review the minutes.
I did, and I just want to make a comment. Something that stands out to me is when I look at the salaries and the increases, for example, we did an increase, a 6-month increase on the sheriff's department from $17.19 to $17.36. Really? I mean, I think we really need to revamp that a little bit because that's not much of a raise.
That's
I know,
way all
probably
of our
by the
raises
pay,
are.
that's probably by the pay plan.
Yes,
But
yes.
that tells me that the pay plan has huge fallacies in it, because that's just, if we give a better raise from the beginning, then you don't have to do it every couple months, or every whatever. I just think, to me, if I was that person, I wouldn't take much pride in receiving that kind of a raise, but just my thought.
And
I mean, how many pennies is that, by the way? Is it 20 cents? I don't think so. It's not very many, that's just my comment.
That's one reason that we're asking you to look at the pay plan.
Yeah, and
Because this is our old pay plan.
and I hope you understand that I have said it many times that we need to get onto the pay plan. But I'm certainly not in favor of doing the pay plan as written. I want to dissect it a little bit and make it more effective.
I mean, to Diane's question on private business, quarter is appreciated once or twice a year.
In my private business, I gave raises to people who deserved them, and I gave substantial raises in my private business.
I'll make a motion to approve June 15 minutes.
Second by Randy. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Was that for both sets?
Oh,
Yeah,
The
you said-
morning
you
and the
said for
afternoon,
June
that'd be
15th.
fine.
I said, yeah,
Okay.
that covers it.
Okay, very good. Just
All right, so we got some salary changes for Michael Hurst. He's going to the appraisers. So it's just changing from 1991 to 1991. The transfer from custodial to appraiser. Yeah, with a look again at 6 months. Salary change for Sequoia Shoal, looks like it's a new hire, starting off at $18.77 a month, looking at 6 months in a year.
Fun.
our first transfer of the year from the road and bridge sales tax and from the general fund, both of those to the capital improvement fund. This is 1/3 of our budgeted transfer for this year. And we generally do that, you would need to do that by a motion and a vote to approve that budgeted transfer.
So I'll make a motion to approve the transfer of the road and bridge sales tax to capital improvement fund in the amount of $93,542.34. Second by Randy. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0. And then, make a motion to the road main and implement the 7 mil to capital improvement fund in the amount of $327,397. Second by Campbell. Any other discussion?
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0.
Wait your turn, Diane.
I'm deep in thought, sorry.
You knew how she's voting, she just said it too soon.
It's administrative.
Okay, this morning I gave you quite a few papers. The first one, there is well, there are two. There's a procurement policy and a code of conduct. Those are required for the community development block grant. And so I'd like you to read through those. Most of that is things we already have in place, but they want specific language in place for that community development block grant. And so those are items that we would need you to review and pass for us to submit a copy to the state. And I'm sorry I didn't have those for you on Friday, but I was not here, so.
We want to take that Tuesday. Just
Yeah,
do
that's
everybody.
fine. If you wanted to have a chance to take it and read it and do it on Tuesday, that's fine.
Is there more pressing? We have to have this before we can get applications.
Well, we're already getting applications, but we need to have it before we can receive funding,
Okay.
so.
Okay. If everybody's okay with that, I'd like to read through it.
I insist.
Okay, and then this morning Brad had sent over a resolution, and that pertains to, you might remember a while back, you had
Yeah.
already done the agreement and the approval to work with the city of Lost Springs to clean up that property. However, there's a resolution also required to authorize it, and that would be, I'm gonna give you my copy because it's on Jonas on 2 pages. This would be resolution 2020-16.
Tina,
Yes.
this is Sharon. We may need to add the other 2 properties onto that resolution.
Okay, can we do this one with this property and then do another one with the other 2 properties?
Yeah, that should work fine.
Or I can go change and add all these addresses. What are the other addresses? That's over the board.
I can email it to you if you'd like.
We can do one at a time, that way they all stand alone.
Okay.
One can be taken down by another.
Sharon, if you can email the other addresses, I can have that for Tuesday, for the other two.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Well, with that, I will go ahead and make a motion to approve resolution number 2020-16 for the cleanup on 76 Berry, Lost Springs, Kansas. Second by Ken.
Little discussion here. This is, I'd like to ask Sharon. Sharon, you still on there?
Yes.
Is this gonna be physical removal of trash? What all is it gonna include? I'm just checking with you.
Sure. Mostly it's pallets and then some containers and different things like that.
And this is just to meet some sort of specifications that the county has?
State.
The county and the state.
Okay.
It was, yes, it started as a violation.
Okay.
And the county was addressing the issue, and KDHE was also contacted.
Yes, right. Okay. Thank
So
you.
so this is a cooperative effort between the county and the state.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Sharon, this is Kent, question. On a property like that, does the owner of the property then have to sign some type of a affidavit or something stating that it's not gonna end up the same way as it was before?
Yes, I believe KDHE has some documents that were signed by the property. I can check into that more if you'd like.
Well, I'm just concerned, you know, sometimes those properties, you start doing a cleanup or get it cleaned up, and then 2 years later, you're back in the same situation.
Yes.
Sure, that's understandable. And that's a legitimate concern. The paper or the agreement with KDHE and that individual is that they'll keep the property clean. Otherwise, if they go back in a year or whatever and have accumulated a lot of waste again, then that property owner would be solely responsible for all of the monies that it has costed for the county and the state to clean up. So it goes back retroactively, and the property owner would be responsible for the entire cost.
And if they don't have no money to do that, do we take the property or what do we do?
That's a question for someone besides me.
Okay.
I think it can be assessed as a special tax, but then how the rest of that works, I don't know.
Okay.
It would be assessed as a special by the county, and then if it is unpaid for a certain length of time, then it would go through the sheriff's sale process.
Right. Right. Okay, thank you, Sharon.
And
You're
just a
welcome.
reminder, please make sure your microphone is facing you and make sure you're speaking into the microphone. Thank you. That's right, lean forward.
Constant reminder.
So I need one of these with a paper on it that says lean forward. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and I didn't get who the second was. Was it Kent?
Kent,
Okay,
yes, sir.
thank you. Here's the one to sign.
mark your yay and nay.
Oh, yeah, we did, didn't we?
Yeah, you
Yep.
did.
Well, we got you take care of this.
Pretty great. I'm gonna be out here. Yay.
That's all right.
I already recorded it, that y'all said yay anyway, so.
But the
10
job is
years
never
from-
done until the paperwork is complete.
10 years when I come back, why, I wouldn't know what I voted for if I didn't sign yay.
Okay, I have a special events permit, request for Center Schools. They would like to hold some fireworks in conjunction with their graduation, I believe on July 4th. And so we did ask them to submit a special events application. So I didn't make copies because it has a map, you can all take a look at it. Or if John wants to read out any.
Everybody gets to see it.
They're all within the time frame, aren't they?
Yes. The reason that we did ask them to go ahead and do a special event permit is because it's not on private property, and then we wanted to make sure it addressed parking and those kind of things. When you have a big event like that, we require it, so.
Is there a permit number on
Zero
It might
one.
be, but.
Like the harvest will be over by then this year.
Unless it keeps raining.
Yeah, if it keeps raining, it's gonna slow things down. Yeah. We've had a chance to look at it, so I'm gonna go ahead and label that permit as a special permit 2020-1, and I'll make a motion to approve.
There.
Second by Randy. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Actually, we'll do an actual permit
Okay.
for them. You could sign up on the permit at the bottom. And I usually I send those over to planning and zoning, also the sheriff's office, just so they're aware. Okay. And then the last piece of paper that I gave you this morning, it has to do with the CARES Act funding that Marion County will be receiving. There's a lot of information that we still need on this, but we would be receiving $194 per person, and the total is $2,389,886. And we will find out more later about how that should be distributed. And I did hear from Randy Frank that this money will reimburse all of the county's expenses, and we will not be asking FEMA for reimbursement, that it will be paid from here.
What was the total amount? You said we received.
It's 2,389,886. It's on the back page of the packet that I gave you, Diane.
Okay.
Okay.
That'll do tonight, huh?
And the idea is
That'll
that
be a
it's
message.
distributed to other agencies within this county as well,
Yeah.
not all for us.
Yeah, we've already heard.
Yeah,
Okay.
we gotta pass some down to the cities.
Yeah. So,
That's a nice sum of money.
yes.
But
Okay.
it needs to go for emergency type situations, but I think it could fit into ambulance.
No.
We will know more later. They'll be releasing guidance, and I'll be sure to share all that with you. Okay. And the last thing that I had, which I guess I could have copied this for you, but it was in my folder. You probably all got this already, I think. The email from the city of Marion basically saying that they have voted to continue the curbside recycling. So I believe you all got that email. I just wanted to bring that up in the meeting, so, okay. And that was all I had.
Sorry. Administrative? Okay. The other thing is, Deidre said she would bring up new updates, and I'm sure everybody's aware, but we should probably just put it out there. And the newspapers have already published it, that
I can't hardly hear
we
you.
had the 2 new cases on the COVID, just, so that way everybody's aware. That would normally be her time to bring that update, so I just,
She's gone.
yeah, she's not around, so I just figured I'd put that out there. So with that, then we'll move on to Road and Bridge. And Bryce is sitting right there.
Morning.
All right.
Got 2 utility permits. 2 utility permits, one's for a phone down to the 120th west of 77, and the other's for a gas line repair up on 360th south of Timber. No infringements or encroachments, whatever on our stuff, so not a problem.
So, there's a permit for Enterprise Products, 2020-10, repair on pipeline. 0.26 miles west of Timber Road. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Ken. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
We have permit number 2020-11. It is for Zayo. 0.31 miles west of US Highway 77, 120th. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Randy. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5-0.
I received confirmation from KDOT last week that they did approve our traffic engineering application program or assistance program, the TEAP, to study the intersection at 210th, Pawnee and Old Mill, just east of the reservoir right there. We won't know any more information until they get more funding or actually approve that funding. So it met all our qualifications and criteria, so. Other than that, I didn't really have anything, so, other than trying to go out and work on roads. So, bridges, culverts, whatever else out there, so. I know there's some other stuff to do out there.
So Bryce, I have a question for you. So I will be going out to look at a road or 2 or 3 after we leave the meeting, and of course I'm talking about Falcon. And I haven't been out there for quite some time. I have been up north, and I brought it to your attention a couple weeks back that a lot of the rock that was put on some of our roads up north during that wet time is now gone, and it's gone. And so I got a notice that Falcon is the same way, that it's filled with potholes and there is no rock left. And this was all rock that was bought from the Florence Quarry just a couple months ago. I'm assuming that, I mean, based on what I see up in my district, I'm gonna say it's a tremendous waste of money, the rock that we put on those roads, because it's now gone. And this is a problem that we've had for a very long time, years. And this is one of the reasons why I, a couple months ago, made the big push for harder rock. I don't know if the problem falls, that people don't understand what I'm talking about when I say harder rock, but I've got pretty clear in my mind what the difference is. I'm also going to look at the 180th in Falcon, which had the hard rock put on it, because I just want to see the difference in that particular case. But I'd like to know what your thought is after spending all that money. I don't remember the figure, but I know it was upward of $200,000 in rock just a couple months ago that we spent. And like I said, I'm speaking from my district, gone. And now this situation here, which I'm getting phone calls at different places and stuff. What do you think? I mean, we spend all that money for rock. People have been saying for years that the Florence rock is just not the quality rock that we need for our ag roads, or just our roads in general. It's just way too soft. So what are your thoughts about the money that we spent just a few months ago and now the rock is gone? What's your explanation for that? Do you have one?
Well, I think the rock is still there. It's just been pushed down. But I've said all along that one of the biggest things we need to do is get more crown back in these roads, and therefore eliminate that water and stuff being there. You will reduce and/or eliminate the potholes by getting that crown back in there. But again, it comes down to budget things. If you want all hard rock, then that's what we'll start hauling rock. But you know, based on the budget that we have.
And based on you replying to that, I appreciate what you said. But if we spend $200,000 every 3 months on rock,
Lean forward.
if we spend $200,000, just assuming, and I know the weather is different from summer to winter to rainy to not, but if we're spending that kind of money in rock, then I can certainly understand why there's no budget money available to do the crowning and stuff like that. We're just spending way too much money foolishly on rock that is just not suitable for our roads, or roads in general. I'm sorry, but I just cannot let this type of practice continue. That was a big experiment here a couple months ago, spending all that money on rock. Talking about all that conversation we had with hard rock. And look at what we did. We tried it again, and again, it has proven to be the wrong way to go. And so I'm just saying, I just find it to be terrible the way we're wasting money like this, especially in these budget times. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. It's right there. Anybody can look at these roads. It's not a secret, and it's not rocket science.
I'm not gonna disagree with you. I just, 190th and Falcon is a private drive. It is.
180th.
180th and Falcon is a private drive.
It's a road that's
well,
not.
it's a county road, but
Yes, it's
the
a
hard
county
rock was
road.
put on it by the landowner.
I got that. But you still have to.
It's not trafficked like Falcon. We just need to be clear that those are two different animals. I'm
Okay.
not disagreeing.
So I'm gonna also go up to the road
Right.
just a little west
And
of Kent.
That's the one that we really need to pay attention to.
I'm gonna look at that one as well. I would suspect that it's probably in better shape. But I brought up other roads in my district that have heavy traffic, not so much, a little more, et cetera and so forth. And honestly, you can't tell the difference. The rock is literally gone. Now you can say it was pushed down in. I would question that, but I don't know, because I just don't see it there. It's becoming a slurry again. And with the little bit of rain that we had just over this weekend, it's just a mess. And so I'm just telling you, the phone calls are gonna start to flood in, and now what am I gonna tell my constituents? Hey, we're doing the same thing we've always done. Why would you expect a different result? I mean, I'm just wondering if this commission is ready to actually make a change. If we could walk on a road once a year, it's better than putting it on 2 or 3 times in the same place. You're gonna save a ton of money. It's just what I have to say on that subject.
Did you say that, Diane, that Falcon in your district had been rocked in the last year?
No,
Last
I didn't
2 or
say
3?
Falcon. Falcon's not in, this particular area I'm talking about is not in my district.
Okay.
But this particular one was, but I'm talking about other roads in my district that were walked, that I'm finding the same scenario. And I'm trying to calm my people up there, because they're angry, they're upset again, because here we go, just another round. I do appreciate the sand. I did request some sand on some roads with going into harvest. Of course, there for a while it was dry, and with the, okay, so here's why I say I don't think the rock was pushed down into the ground, because now we have this, or the last couple of weeks, we've had tremendous dust. And you get that dust when your rock turns to powder. Then that powder, and traffic going across it, you got dust all over the people's homes and properties and things, and I had to request some sand on some of these homes because the porches were just covered in dust. That's because the rock was breaking down. And so, and Bryce jumped right on that. He done an excellent job on that, and I give him kudos for that. But my point is, the budget scares me to death with where we know we're at right now. We cannot afford to continue walking the same roads 2, 3, 4 times in a year. And we're getting nowhere. All the rock that we put on these roads in the past 2, 3 years, we should have a base 2 foot high, but we don't, is my point.
Yeah, because I know Falcon in my district it hasn't been rocked for a year. I believe
Yeah.
it's about a year. You may not, you may have a better idea, but
I think this,
Different areas.
yeah, and I wasn't on in yours, and I haven't been in your district in a while, but
It technically is the 200th to 190th is Falcon and Kansas.
yeah.
No, I'm talking from 300 south.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have Falcon, south of there is Randy and I,
Yeah.
so.
But I'll be up driving your road, well, not your road, but a little west of you, with that hard rock today, because I do want to see how that fares from the other that we got. So anyway, okay.
I did give, Bryce asked me last week where that crushed concrete was, starting in McPherson County on the Marion County line, so.
Yeah, and I drove that last week. I don't think it's crushed concrete. I don't know what it is. It's got some awful dark gray rock in it, so I don't know if it's a special mix from somewhere. I wasn't able to get back
You
with
don't,
him to find
you
out.
didn't think it was crushed?
I don't think it's crushed concrete because it doesn't, it's not, it just doesn't look like the consistency, but it was something different than
What that
I've
is.
seen around,
Yeah.
yeah. But like, I tried to get a hold of somebody and couldn't get a hold of anybody, so
Yeah.
I'll find out about that.
Yeah, I'd be interested, because they've always used sand, and it looks to me like, and I didn't drive any of their other roads along the side, so I don't know if they've
Yeah.
put more of that on some of the roads or not.
Yeah, I drove that area and then come down whatever the next road to the west and then back to 290th, and they're in the same situation we are, real slimy roads and nothing out there, but, so. All right, well, I guess, Ed, it comes down to the issue is, if you want me to haul hard rock from now on, I can do that. We're gonna spend the extra money and we're gonna haul half as much based on the round trip times, but that's gotta be a decision that comes out somewhere.
Maybe there's a middle ground. The base rock material, does it necessarily need to be spec'd if you're just trying to get the breakthroughs, the mud holes covered up so that you're not sinking down and making ruts? Get that at a cheaper price. can afford to cap it with a higher price.
I mean, that's up to your decision. I mean, in the past, we've always said that we wanted to use state-approved rock, and, you know, the only state-approved rock we have here is either at Arshman's or Woodbine or.
And I agree with the state-approved rock on the top, the cap, you know, but as far as getting you can clearly tell where a road is broken through, and you rut real easy. At that point, does it need to be state-approved rock to be shoved in some mud?
See, I've always taken the position, and I know that I stand alone on this, but again, I've always taken the position that even the base rock needs to be a quality, hard rock. Everybody else has always said, no, you can get this soft stuff and put it in there and so on and so forth, but it's the weight, it's the traffic, it's everything involved that is crushing this rock. So I totally disagree with putting cheap, inferior rock as a base, because your base is your foundation of your house. Why would you make a cheap, build a house on sand? We've heard that before. Why would you do that? That foundation is the beginning of what that road is going to be like. So I totally disagree with being cheap. You know, we've been cheap for a long time. I'm saying cheap, and let me tell you, you know, a $7 million road and bridge budget is not cheap. But I just find that we need to be smarter. Instead of working harder, we need to work smarter. And let's try all hard rock. Like I said, even if we can cut, this is a 3-month, $200,000 or more. If we can reduce that, we're going to save money in the long run.
Right.
I mean, to me, it just come back and bit us. Everything we went through a couple months ago, the proof is right there.
Shouldn't we let the expert, the engineer, tell us what he should be doing? I mean, lead us, not us lead you.
Well, I mean, I appreciate that. What we're trying to do is get the roads covered. I know a lot of people said, I don't care what kind of rock it is, I just want rock. Well, you know, again, we've got those 3 options: using unapproved rock in the base and or surface. We can use the approved rock, or we could go to poles over there. It just comes down, the fact is that, you know, obviously I don't want to have to do this anymore, and I have to also, but yet, when you turn around and, you know, not only do we pay, you know, the extra money to go over and get the hard rock, but we only haul, you know, roughly half as much since we're making those longer rounds. But, you know, winter time, if we could stockpile that, we definitely gain an advantage now. But, you know, right now, that's the other thing, is if we turn around and find even more guys to go over there and haul that hard rock, you know, our budget's getting hit hard, and if we do that, it's only gonna get worse. But if you guys, if that's as a commission, that's what you want me to do, that's what I'll do. I'm just saying that we've gotta, you know, come up with that money somewhere.
Bryce, have you give me a text and you've got 30th done there, a mile or 2. Have you got a price on that too? What that cost?
It's the same as what it was before. I don't know exact dollar figures, but it was basically the same price as what we were hauling before.
Okay.
So I get that to you. But have you driven over it?
No.
Okay.
No.
And I don't know whether he got finished last week or not. So,
Yeah,
but I can get back with you on that.
I will today, but I'm not. I didn't this weekend. I'm just, Diane. I understand where you're at. Been there quite a while. I think we're going to have to. The only way we're going to be afforded in our budget is if we pick some main roads and do some base work and do some prepping and put the hard rock on. Start there. There's no way, even though I don't like it, but I don't think there's no way we can afford to haul hard rock for every road in this county. Yeah, I just don't think that our budget.
See, I do tend to disagree with you. I appreciate what you're saying, Randy, and I understand where you're coming from, because we have so many roads.
Yeah.
And I do realize we have to prioritize the roads from the start.
Yeah.
We can't
Yeah.
just go willy-nilly.
Mm-hmm.
But on the same token, I think it comes right down to economics. And, you know, when you're spending more up front, but over the long haul, it pays for itself,
Yeah.
to me, that's the position the county should be taking.
Right.
I don't like to, but I will also say another thing that's probably not going to be popular. But I'm also thinking that because of the situation, maybe we need to not spend so much money in equipment this year. 1 year of not so much money in equipment and get these roads up into a better standard. And then next year come back and go, well, you won't be doing so much money on the roads. Maybe then we can purchase some equipment. The equipment that we have that's up for trade-in or whatever is not urgent. It's something that probably needs to be done sooner or later, but I just think that we can prioritize and we can be smart. You could do the same thing in your household. It's just, I mean, that's just my thought, because honestly, I don't know, it's just, to me, I'm just not happy with it at all. I personally think we're just not being smart. I don't think we're doing it right. I really don't. And I tried, I went along with it. I thought, okay, we're gonna do this, we're gonna give it a chance. Okay, we gave it a chance. And look where we're at. So that's all I had to say on that subject. Thank you.
But if you cut the equipment budget, that will come back to bite you in the next 2 or 3 years, because you'll be behind replacing things. You know, it's just, if you don't have decent equipment and keep it running, you'll spend more on repairs and more downtime. You have employees waiting to go do the job because they don't have the right tools. If you've got the right tools, you can get more done over a long period. As far as the rock, either haul more hard rock, you're gonna be able to service less people. So I think Bryce is trying to keep more people happy, because he can leave half the rock, so he can leave half the people underserved. It's kind of a catch-22. He's in a tough spot, but I'd still feel we need to follow his leadership.
I think no matter which way this commission decides to go, I think there should be so many miles per year that we decide to do some hard rock. And just work towards that, and we can't do it all at once.
But we can't keep changing every month. I mean, we need to keep going in one direction for at least 6 months to see what happens.
So,
Well, I can tell you that of the roads that we've rebuilt and whatever else, of course, other than this Xavier, but all these other roads that we've rebuilt in the last year or so are performing exceptionally well. So I can tell you that there's so much more to, if we get these roads crowned and stuff like that and get that built in there, you know, but it brings up the issue that I can only do so many miles in a year, unless we turn around and contracted some more of that out. You know, everything involves some sort of a budgetary or resource issue. So, but again, I'm willing to do whatever you guys want. I mean, that's just plain simple.
So Bryce, is there some equipment that you have on there that maybe you can put off 1 more year? I'm not saying don't buy it or don't do it, just 1 more year. Can we wiggle around a little bit there? This is budget time. This is the time to make those changes. And what Mr. Crowfoot said, I appreciate what he said as well. If we were in a critical situation with equipment, if the equipment was just breaking down and costing us a mint, but it's not. I'm asking you, because I know some people that drive some of those road graders and stuff, and they're happy with them. They're working, they're not bad. In fact, they got the least amount of miles or hours on them than any. So I'm just asking you, is there any way that you would be willing to maybe forego some equipment for 1 year to assist in getting the roads back?
Again, that's a decision that you guys, I mean, there's equipment that I would like to replace. Yeah, we can keep it till next year, but next year we're in the same situation. We'll keep it to next year, and then, you know, like Randy said when he got here, it's been, I mean, I wish I had a crystal ball and could tell you exactly what's gonna happen. I mean, you know, we talked about the biggest expense I'm looking at is motor graders. You know, I've got them up there. When a motor grader goes down, it needs to be rebuilt. We're looking at $60,000 for the motor. You know, I mean, there's, again, I can't speculate on what that will be. I mean, our repairs are very constant, and they only stay the same or increase as the older equipment goes. But again, that's, you know, I can forego any equipment. We didn't get much last year either, or this year, so, you know, that's the whole thing. Or do we get equipment now or start hauling hard rock next year? I mean, that's the whole thing of robbing Peter to pay Paul. Where's the money come from without having more money? But yeah, as far as equipment, I mean, forego any new equipment, I guess, and just deal with it next year, but it's, again, what happens next year, that's the
Well,
other
we
thing.
worry about next year when we get there. I mean, we're at a critical point right now, and then next year, we will hopefully have better roads, and therefore, be able to buy equipment. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and forecast something that's gonna happen 12 months down the road or 15. I'm looking at the situation we're in now, and the money that we have to spend now, and the situation that we're in now, and what we need to do now to fix it.
Well, and I understand, but it's, to look at the fact it's doing the same thing with rock as we need to do rock now to try to fix things, but we don't know what's gonna happen. Anyway, we can go around and around all day and.
I think, to cut to the chase, the commission needs to work with Bryce on, based on the budget that we're looking at now, based on, you know, whether we raise the mill levy or don't raise the mill levy, looking at the mill levy we've got right now. Next year's budget, the commission needs to decide, okay, we're gonna buy 30% of our rock is gonna be hard, or 40% of our rock is gonna be hard, whatever that is. And try to buy it at the optimum time, when we have trucks and when we get the best price. And when it comes to equipment, we need to be able to budget. This is where I'm at, based on lease purchase on vehicles, because it's hard to budget and pay cash for these new maintainers, new trucks, but we can budget based on a lease purchase. And we're in an environment where the lease purchase work is very attractive because of rates. And it allows us the ability to, it's hard to budget 500,000, but maybe we can budget 50,000, you know, based on a 5-year lease purchase. And I think that's the issue that the commission has to deal with, and let Bryce worry about the rest of it.
Well, again, that's, you know, I work for the constituents and the commission for this county, and, you know, so, but anyway, did you have anything else then? No? Okay.
Thank you, Bryce.
But you get back to work.
He's not gonna come back in person anymore, he's just gonna stay on virtual.
Yeah, that virtual works very well for that, doesn't it?
Well, it keeps them efficient, they can keep working until it's their turn, instead of sitting out there in the hallway. Go ahead, and I think I've seen somebody out there, I believe it's from Prairie View.
Good morning.
Jesse's doing
Where do you
good.
want me?
Yeah.
Hi.
Oh, Jesse.
Hello.
How are ya?
I'm well, thank you. So can I jump right in?
Yep.
All right. I'm not really planning to talk a lot about coronavirus this morning, but I thought I would just make a few remarks and then talk about the report that you should have received already. I hear a lot, as we all do, about the reopening plans. And when people ask me about that for Prairie View, I just say, we never closed. When we started this process, every single one of our staff, 343 of them, received this little card that says basically that they're a provider of essential healthcare services and they're required to report to work. We changed a lot of our services, basically everything, converted our service delivery from in-person to telemedicine. So we needed to buy a lot of equipment to be able to equip folks, both patients and staff, to be able to have a virtual interaction to receive services, kind of like Skype or FaceTime, but we needed to use an application that was encrypted, HIPAA compliant, to protect everyone's privacy. And you know, it was interesting to me how staff responded to this. It was affirming for them to be told that they are essential and really critical to the emotional well-being of patients and people in the community. And I think they've known that and felt that, but to see it in black and white reminded them. Now, we had folks like everybody who were not excited to be working. You know, maybe they wanted to spend their stimulus money or collect their unemployment, or they didn't want to put themselves at risk. We have some patients who require injections, or folks that have communication challenges, or our little bitty kiddos that have a hard time engaging through telephonic or telemedicine interaction and really need that face-to-face to be able to actively participate in their treatment. So we've had to overcome some of those obstacles, but you know, I think I've always seen Prairie View as part of the community safety net, a provider of essential services, but not all of our staff had seen themselves that way, so that was really encouraging. And I won't say any more about that unless you have specific questions for me about how we've been impacted about COVID-19.
No, I just thank you for that nice opening.
Good. So you received my written report, and I think in the 15 years I've been coming to talk with you, I'm pretty sure this is the shortest report I've ever submitted. And it's not that there's less going on, I just recognize the volume of information that you receive and all the things that you are expected to be expert about, and I want to be respectful of your time and attention and give you the essential information. And I know that you probably feel pretty familiar with Prairie View over these years and kind of know what we're about. So I'm not going to read this report to you, but just kind of ask you to think about your funding of Prairie View, your community mental health center, as an investment. It's not money down the drain or out the window, as my dad used to say, but really an investment in the quality of health and the quality of life for the people of Marion County. I would ask you to think about that funding as a way to prevent or reduce the need or the intensity for other emergency services. We know, we're reminded every single day of the importance or the impact that mental health treatment has on our court systems, on law enforcement, on emergency room or other healthcare providers, and our EMTs and paramedics. Because of the impact that mental health has on behavior and lifestyle choices, but also general health for the people of Marion County. And so when we can intervene earlier or identify the need for mental health services, and we do that in a variety of ways, not the least of which is collaboration with our community partners that I've just identified. But when together we can identify someone that has a need for mental health or behavioral health, including substance use services, and can provide that treatment or intervention, then we believe that there will be fewer domestic violence cases, fewer automobile accidents, fewer law enforcement or emergency dispatches because of individuals and their struggles or their crises that are a result of their mental illness, more than any kind of criminal behavior that affects the processes in the court system and juvenile justice. And if we can proactively provide preventive services that reduces the need for those other higher end, more intensive, and more risky and more dangerous services as well. So thinking about an investment in mental health to just generally improve the health and the safety of the community is how I'd like you to think about your funding for Prairie View as your local community mental health center. And that word community is part of our name for a reason, and implies that going back to the 60s when community mental health services began to be funded by the federal government, the intent was to not maintain individuals with mental illness in institutional settings, but really return them to their communities and help them receive the support that they need so that they can be self-sufficient or more independent and be contributing members of society rather than dependent on other high-end services. In the report, I talk about various locations where we provide services in the community, including nursing homes, client homes, places of business, and our community schools. And I don't know if you have a way to see if Evan Yoder is connected this morning, and he is the chair of our local CMHC Community Advisory Committee. As a licensed CMHC regulated by the Kansas Department for Aging and Disability Services, we have an advisory committee that reflects community or stakeholder input and represents the stakeholders or the constituents or our covered lives, the people of our counties that we are responsible for. And as part of that group, Evan wanted to speak with you a little bit this morning. So I'm here in person and he's planning on connecting so that he can talk with you about our work in the schools. Are you able to see if he's there?
I don't see his name listed, but there is a caller number 1 out there.
Evan, are you on the call?
I am here.
Okay.
Yes,
Caller
I am.
number
Can you hear
1.
me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Are you ready?
Evan, were you listening? Were you able to hear what I was sharing?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so.
Yes, I've heard everything, yes.
And unless.
All right. Hey, I thank you for letting me come in, and I know this is weird doing it this way. Hopefully you can hear what I'm saying. But it was interesting listening to the rock conversation, and unlike the rock, which you see, and I see it here on 90th when rock is put on our road, you as commissioners may not see the results of the mental health services that Prairie View provides, but we in school do see that. And we have some families we have lots of families struggling with job loss, child care concerns, the virtual learning we've had to do in schools, and just the day-to-day challenges of raising families. And I can't think of a more critical time to support Prairie View's mission than right now. We don't know what the fall will bring, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be a mixed bag of schooling. It's going to create this pressure on families, and we see those families that get support from Prairie View, how they're able to negotiate through some of these things. The children react so much better when the parents are getting these services, and we see that on a day-to-day basis. And again, you don't see it like the rock, but those of us that work with these families, we do see it. And so I would hope that the commission in this tough time financially, as Jesse said, it's money in the bank. Like the road analogy, if we don't continue to provide a good base, we're going to struggle down the line. And those kids we have in school right now, whose families are struggling with all these issues, need this support that is readily available right now, thanks again to the commission supporting in the past. And that's just something that I feel is just critical that we continue. So again, thank you for letting me come on.
Thanks, Evan.
Could I ask, who is Kevin?
Evan Yoder,
He's
the principal at the elementary school. And
principal of Hillsborough Elementary.
Okay.
Yeah. And he's got affiliation with Prairie View.
right. He chairs our advisory committee.
I thought he's the school system, sound like.
Yes, and we work with him for the students in his building, as well as multiple other schools throughout the county.
Evan, you still there?
Yes, I am.
I'd just like to say thank you for your years of service, because I know when I first come on, you was in this committee, and we used to meet at the Old Town Cafe on Main Street, and then when Jesse come
Exactly.
on, and we used to have meetings there quarterly, I believe, is what they were. But I'd like to say thank you for staying with us for all these years, because there's not too many people that has. So just a big shout out for you, Evan. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Randy. And I know my mom taught me early age that mental health was critical, and we certainly see with the kids.
Do you all have questions for Evan about our work in the schools or the advisory committee, or questions for me about anything in here or anything about mental health?
I think it's pretty well the consensus. I haven't asked everybody, but we really appreciate Prairie View being here. So,
Well, I think firsthand from the other day, Sheriff Kraft sat here and explained to us how the jails are starting to become mental health centers. And that's, you know, not that we didn't maybe suspect that, but it's kind of eye-opening when your sheriff tells you that is what's going on.
We had the Secretary of the State Department of Corrections come and meet with our State Association of Community Mental Health Centers, and he was talking about the number of psychiatrists that are employed by DOC, and it was more psychiatrists than our whole system of mental health centers across the state. And there aren't enough psychiatrists to go around to start with, but the fact that so many are required for our prison system was deeply disturbing.
So when you get calls from the sheriff's department and things at different times, do you have adequate number of beds and things like that available when the calls arise?
Until recently, there was a sufficient number of beds, and typically when we're called by law enforcement, it is to help a situation in the community or to screen someone for admission to a state mental health hospital. And for this region, that would be Larned. Now, Osawatomie has had a moratorium on admissions to the state hospital for over 5 years. Larned only in the last few weeks has instituted what they call a managed moratorium, meaning...
I never heard that before.
It's kind of a new twist.
Okay.
They developed that because they needed to reduce the occupancy of the state hospitals so they could have single rooms instead of double rooms to manage the risk of the coronavirus. And so that reduced their capacity. And for many years, Osawatomie has not been able to accept voluntary admissions. They've only accepted involuntary, while Larned has continued to admit folks who know that they need treatment and are willing to participate in that treatment. But under this managed moratorium, when their capacity reaches a certain level, I believe it's 62, then they stop accepting voluntary admissions altogether, and involuntary admissions are placed on a waiting list. That means that patient who has been determined to be in need of inpatient psychiatric treatment may be waiting in a jail. They may be waiting in a hospital emergency room. If they're involuntary, they're probably not happy to be in either one of those places. I mean, they're not well and they're not receiving treatment, they're just being held. So for the last probably 6 weeks, we've been under that moratorium, and Prairie View is one of the community providers that has a contract with KDADS to accept overflow patients. Meaning, when the state hospital is full, rather than having a person wait on a waiting list, if we can safely manage them, we admit them to our hospital in Newton. Sometimes these individuals may be violent, aggressive. If they're assaultive towards staff or other patients and we can't keep everyone safe, we're not able to admit them. But we have accepted a number of admissions under those circumstances. So the short answer to your question is, under typical circumstances, the Larned area has sufficient capacity, but right now, with the coronavirus protections in place, they're hitting that maximum and admissions are being delayed, which further burdens other parts of the system.
I'd say so. It's crazy.
And it's extremely unfortunate for a patient who's already determined to be at risk to themselves or others, and when they're just being held maybe against their will and not receiving any treatment, that makes matters worse.
I can imagine. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. We are currently working on the budget, so we'll take this and present with Lloyd here on Tuesday again, so.
Please know how much we appreciate your support, not just your financial support, but your advocacy for mental health, whether it's with our legislators in Topeka or the Kansas Association of Counties or some of the law enforcement associations. We really need to work together to make sure that our systems are adequately funded because they are so interrelated. And we also appreciate the participation of individuals of this group in our advisory committee, that really helps us, you know, have a more representative group. And we know that's an additional burden on your time, but we appreciate it. It has great value for us, so thank you.
What is your advisory group now? How many do we have?
Evan, are you still with us? I think we have 8. 8 or 9.
Yes, I am.
Size of your group now, Evan?
Advisory.
Your advisory,
Besides,
advisory group.
Do you recall?
it varies, but we're in 8 to 10, I believe.
Good. Okay, thank you.
Am I reading this right, where you're asking for $93,798? How'd you come up with something like that?
Well, the calculations are in here. What I did was identify the average per capita support of CMHCs across Kansas, and just take that number times the population of Marion County.
Okay.
And that would put Marion County basically in the middle, or at the average level of funding. And this is a conversation that we've had over the years. We look at the numbers that are provided to us by KAC and just see, and there are a lot of reasons for that to vary, but that's why we use the per capita average to come up with that number.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions for me?
Keep up the good work.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, Jesse.
Under Kansas Legal Services.
Wow. Right down.
Morning, Ty.
Thought you weren't afraid of it.
Hello, how are you guys?
Pretty good, Ty.
So you guys have now gone to 5 commissioners, huh?
Yeah, moving up.
I was freaking out the other day. I went to look on there to put on my letter. I was like, wait, there are 5 now?
That's the wrong county, huh?
I thought I was in Coffee County. Because for years, there, of the 7 counties I'm in, Coffee County had 5.
Yeah.
Everybody else had 3. And, you know, I figured each their own.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I'll start out this little speak by starting out the way I always do. Kansas Legal Services is a private, not-for-profit law firm. That means that we operate under the same rules as every other law firm in the state, except for one thing. We try not to make money. We're doing pretty good at that lately. Really, we try to basically break even, do as much as we can with the funding that we do get. I am doing probably my least favorite part of my job, which is coming around once a year and sticking my hand out and asking for your money. I know how tough things are over here, how tough things are everywhere this year, given the uncertain nature of everything. I'm asking for the same amount I asked for last year, was $4,000. I think I got $3,500 from you guys, but I asked for $4,000. I'm asking for the same thing in every county that I asked for last year, because I know how tough things are. We are the attorney for the last resort. If you can't afford an attorney somewhere else, come hire us. Do an application, see if you qualify, see if you meet our financial guidelines, see if you meet our case types. Case types are set by our local advisory board. It's made up of 3 attorneys, 3 community members, and 3 client eligible members. And they sort of try to tell us locally what we're not doing, or are we doing right. We also have a statewide board that's made up of like 24 people. And same breakup, 1/3 attorneys, 1/3 client members, 1/3 community members. And they set our priorities every year and tell us what we should be doing, what we shouldn't be doing. We generally do 2 types of work in Emporia for the most part. We have a public defender project that we do here in Marion and Morris and in Lyon. That's where the court appoints us in certain cases to be somebody's attorney. You know, when you hear that, you have the right to remain silent, you have a right to an attorney. We're that attorney. And then we do a lot of domestic violence work. Taking a look at our numbers this year, we're down a little bit. but part of that is deceiving. Our hours are actually up, our numbers are down. That's because the Violence Against Women Act, VAWA, that funding changed last year. It used to be we could only do a PFA or a protection order, and then we had to find another funding source to help that person. Now VAWA has given us more money and said, we're going to expand your definition of what domestic violence work is. You can do any type of work for a victim of crime. If she's getting beat up, help her out. If because of that she's losing her house, help her out on that. If she wants a divorce, help her out there. So that one case now become what used to be 3 or 4 different cases. And it's taking some more time. Over here in Marion, a lot of times we'll get a call for a protection order. We get involved and get them a protection order. And used to be we'd have to go off and find another funding source to help them with it after that. Well, now we can just continue that VAWA case on and get the divorce done. That's helping me out quite a bit because VAWA has a little higher guidelines than most of our other funding sources. It goes up to 250% of property, and so we can help anybody out who's getting abused. We can also help them out with a Crime Victims Compensation Board request. So let's say he beat her up, put her in the hospital. Joel is in the process of prosecuting him but hadn't gotten him yet. I can go in and file that Crime Victims Compensation and get her up to 25 grand in funding. That will be, if he's ordered to pay restitution, actually pays. That's really the big part. We get a lot of restitution orders, we don't get a lot of payments. It's sort of hard to get blood out of a turnip. And these guys, I mean, a lot of them don't pay their child support, they don't pay their alimony, they don't pay their fines, their costs, or anything. So we go to the Crime Victims Board, they pay the victim, they get some help, and we get done. We also do disability work. We are no longer doing adult disability cases in Emporia. We've decided to move those to Kansas City and Wichita because it's not very convenient to put an attorney in the car 3 hours to do a hearing. So the attorneys are closer for adults to do those hearings. We are still processing paperwork and we're still doing kids cases though. The reason we took that out of Emporia is my paralegal of 44 years, who's been in Emporia doing Social Security disability work for 44 years, had retired 2 years ago. And finding somebody new with her experience was not possible. And so I either had a choice to have attorneys doing all the paperwork, which is a waste of time, or we can move it to where they have experienced paralegals and where they have attorneys that don't have to travel. If I was going to do a hearing in Wichita, I had an hour and a half drive down back. You know, always get there an hour early for a Social Security hearing because you never know what's going to happen. And then an hour and a half drive home. So I had 4 hours in there by the time I get done a hearing. That was sort of wasteful. That's, you know, an average Social Security case probably averages me 12 to 15 hours. And 2 of that is 2 trips to Wichita. So it's a lot easier to have attorneys in the local area to do those cases. Another area that has gone down a little bit is advices. But what we have done is we have now hired one and volunteered another. We have 2 full-time attorneys that all they do is answer questions. If you've got a question, have I been in Kansas long enough to file a divorce? I mean, it's got to be 60 days. You know, I moved here a month ago. Can I file a divorce? The attorney gets on the phone and says, listen, you got to be here 60 days before you can file a divorce. Call us back when that's happened. Or if it's with children, they really have to be in Kansas 6 months because that has to be the child's home state. Either they have to be born here or it has to have to be here 6 months, and no other state can have jurisdiction. So if a divorce was filed in Missouri and a couple years later the mom moves to Kansas, Kansas doesn't have jurisdiction in that case. They have to get permission from Missouri to do it in Kansas. You got to get the judges to talk. It's a real pain in the ass. But that's what we do. If you ask the local attorneys, we try not to interfere with the local bar. If a client comes into me and she wants to do a divorce and it's got $1 million in real estate, I ain't touching it. She comes into me and says, listen, I want to get divorced because I want to marry my new boyfriend. My ex-husband is in jail, he's doing 20 years, he's got 12 more left. I'm not touching it. She can afford to save money and hire a local attorney. If she comes in and says, my husband is beating me up and the kids up, I'm involved all the way, okay? More often than not, it's not us taking cases from the private bar, it's the private bar calling me and begging me, hey, this lady has come in, she wants to do a divorce, she can't afford my retainer. Will you please take her? We do the public defender here and in Morris County. A lot of that is because there are not local attorneys willing to do it anymore. In Morris County, there are no attorneys willing to take a criminal case locally. They've just all moved on. Judge White has become a judge. Laura Allen is the county attorney. Randy Heilman retired. Steve Iverson is the city attorney. He sees a conflict to take any criminal cases. So, quite frankly, literally they have no bar. And so when I went in front of their commission's like, could you please give us a bid to do this work? Give them a bid and we worked out a deal. Same thing with Judge Powers over here. He asked me if I wanted to be on the appointment list because he was having a lack of local attorneys willing to take cases. There's Susan, and then I think everybody else comes in from out of town. So, anyway.
What's going on with disability? Because that was a big thing to come in for you. There was, I mean, did they close it out altogether?
No, they're still doing it. We're
Okay.
still doing the same numbers.
Okay.
We have learned, okay, partly with this virus and partly from other things, we have learned it's a lot easier to telecommute and do stuff and not have the attorney have to drive. It is very easy for our attorney to get on the computer, Zoom in with the client and do an in-person meeting basically. And the client doesn't have to go anywhere, doesn't have to get in a car, do anything. They have to go for the one hearing that's in Wichita or the one hearing that's in Topeka or Kansas City. And the attorney in Wichita, literally, they drive 3 blocks from our office to get to the hearing office. It takes them maybe 10 minutes. It takes me an hour and a half to get there. So it is a lot easier on attorney time to have the attorneys Zoom in with the clients and then have the attorney who actually appears at the hearing appear.
I understand that.
It used to be, 5 years ago, when we did a hearing in Wichita, all I had to do was drive to the local Social Security office in Emporia. They quit doing that. They quit doing telehearings locally. If you're within 100 miles of the hearing office, which is a long way, but if you're within 100 miles, you've got to appear in person. If you're over 70 miles, they'll travel voucher you. We are exactly 69 miles from the one in Topeka. We are, I think, 80 some for the one in Wichita. But Topeka, you know, they think, oh no, we're not going to pay you. You're 1 mile short. I'm always like, that's ridiculous.
Cool.
But
Just wonder what happened.
the weight on Social Security cases is short. You still see I'm getting numbers. I got 12 cases last year. I haven't opened up a new case in 2.5 years. It's taking that long for them to work through the system. I still got, I think I got like, I looked the other day, I got like 20 still open. They're just waiting for a decision and waiting for a hearing. Because when you file a request for hearing, right now, in Wichita, you're looking at almost 3 years to get to a hearing.
That was before COVID.
Yeah. Kansas City was almost 4 years. And Topeka was 11 months. And then what they did, because Topeka was doing such a good job of getting to hearings, they moved a whole bunch of cases that hadn't been heard in North Dakota to Topeka and had the judge do telehearings for those. And what they did was they took 2,000 cases and basically moved them to the front of the line in Topeka. And all of a sudden the wait in Topeka, if you were waiting for 11 months, you're almost there. All of a sudden you got another 1.5 years added on to it. So now they're over 2 years in Topeka. And Topeka does have the lowest payment rate of any Social Security office in the country. I don't know why that is, but they pay on average 28%, I think. Lowest cases in the country.
That Social Security is a different thing. I mean,
Oh,
it's disability project.
It is, let me tell you, I have done those cases for 28 years now. The first 5, I was completely incompetent. I mean, it's just so complex, it's so hard to understand. 5 to 10, I was okay. Once I got to about 15 years, I was pretty good at those cases. I knew how to work the way through the system and ask the right questions. Because certain things, if you ask wrong, you get the wrong answer. A lot of my clients don't understand that Social Security does not look at reality. If I've got a client that is living in Severy, Kansas, they are not looking at the job market in Severy, Kansas. They're looking at the job market across the state of Kansas, and they're looking at it nationally. One of the things that drove me nuts, dance hall attendants. I had Social Security judges keep telling me that my client could be a dance hall attendant, because there are 590 of those in Kansas. How many dance hall attendants do you know now? I don't know any. I couldn't find one. I went and looked for one. I researched it online. In fact,
What's your job description?
yeah, they basically sit around and take money for people that want to dance, and they take their coats and stuff like that. A lot of the jobs that the Social Security Administration uses come from a book called the Dictionary of Occupational Titles. It has not been updated since 1982. There is 2 computer jobs in that entire book. Data entry and data entry supervisor. That's it. There are no programmers, designers, web lords, whatever. And, you know, half my clients, that's what they do.
So can I ask you a question?
Yes.
And just from basically what you had talked about, and so you made a statement and you said that Social Security does not look at reality.
Yes.
And sometimes I think the judicial system is the same way.
Oh, yeah.
And so my question to you is, when you're talking about, well, I can't remember what you called it, what it is,
Wawa.
violence against women,
Yes.
do you have the very same standards for men?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good, because I know some men take a heck of a beating from
Yes.
some women.
Yes, they do. We find about domestic violence cases, about 5% of our cases, the male is the victim.
Yeah.
Male is the victim. We know there are a lot more cases of that, and men don't come forward because they're embarrassed.
Mhm.
They don't want to say my wife has beaten me up, my girlfriend has beaten me up. Matter of fact, women are incredibly embarrassed by the situation. A lot of our work is with clients to prevent them from wanting to go back into that situation. Because if you're living with a gentleman and he's your sole means of support, he's the father of your children, man, there are a lot of reasons to go back. And there's one reason to leave, is because he's beating the crap out of you every day. And some people, it's amazing, I watch these decisions that people make. Some women will put up with that for years, and the first time he lays his hands on their kids, they're out the door. Some women will put up with it one time, and they're out the door. It's a broad mix, and we've got to be sensitive, because we ask questions when they call in. We ask, do you feel safe? Are you comfortable? Has anybody in the house been hurt? We don't just say, hey, is he beating you up? Because when we do, we get a lot of people who will say, oh, no, he's not. I had one lady call me, and we went through all the questions with her, and we had called her back, the local office called her back to see if it was a case we wanted to do, and decided we weren't going to do it. And I get a shelter advocate from SOS who called me and said, listen, Ty, why are you not taking her case? I said, why should I? I said, well, she's in the shelter with a broken orbital socket. I'm like, she told us there was no abuse and that she was perfectly safe at home. So I jumped right in that case. So
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
You guys have a good day.
You too.
Thank you, Ty. Thank you for coming to Marion County, because you've been here quite a few years, I know.
I've been doing this job 28 years now.
Well, you've been here quite a while, so.
Yeah.
that's why.
Probably been coming to Marion for 25 of those for sure.
No. Thank you, Ty.
Bye.
Hi there.
Good morning.
This is our new leader, our CDDO out of Harvey County and Marion County. And
Yeah. Good morning to you all.
How long you been on board now? About a year now.
It's closing in on my first full year.
Yeah.
So yeah. Honored to be here with you this morning. My name is Kevin Gaddard. I am the new executive director at the Harvey Marion County CDDO. I have a brief presentation, and we'll just go ahead and begin with the introductory overview. And I didn't need to not introduce you. Mary Gill is one of our board members. Came here as a show of support, and I thank you for that. And Randy, of course, is here too. All right, so the Harvey Marion County CDDO is the entry point for persons seeking services and supports for persons with intellectual and developmental disabilities. These are conditions that appear in the developmental period and result in functional needs for long-term services and supports. These services include case management, respite care, personal attendant care, and day and residential supports. So as a CDDO, we affiliate with our service area providers, and then we provide options counseling and partial options counseling for those services to individuals, guardians, and families. We also provide annual contact and options counseling for everyone, plus annual functional assessments for persons who receive services. We provide quality assurance oversight, including on-site visits to monitor services for a 10% sample of a person served each year. And then finally, we maintain contact with everyone on the waiting list. And this year we processed 3 crisis exceptions funding requests to bypass the wait list. In the by the numbers section, in our total service area, we have 295 individuals, up from 285 last year. 56 or 19% of those are Marion County residents. Total number of persons receiving target case management services in our service area is 238. Those receiving personal care services in the family home is 56. Total number of adults receiving day services is 125. Those receiving residential supports is 98. And then those that are on our waiting list in our service area is 113. We had 5 come off the wait list this fiscal year, and then we added 17 to the wait list. Our revenue streams are, we have our 2 county mill tax from Harvey and Marion counties, our state aid and our CDDO admin. Moving on to our accountability and outcomes section, Marion County dollars at work in fiscal year 2020. We added 8 eligible applicants from Marion County, Random draw and on-site quality assurance visits were completed for 16 individuals, 2 of those who received services in Marion County. County mill funds have helped a family in Marion County offset the cost of transportation for 1 adult to meet the bus for day services in Newton. 1 youth on the waiting list received one-on-one attendant care in the family home. 1 individual not eligible for Medicaid received target case management services. Funding was distributed to offset service-related transportation costs for 6 persons, and 4 of those persons self-directed their services. And then we had 2 adult interns that we were funding for last year's Tabor College Project Search program, and this year we'll fund 1 adult in that program. And a brief overview of that program. Since the Harvey Marion County CDDO began in 2007, families in Marion County asked for more options so their children could have a future in their home county instead of having to move out to other counties. Through grassroots efforts, families in the Marion County Special Education Cooperative engaged the Northview Developmental Services Endowment Foundation to provide a startup grant to implement a Project Search program here in Marion County. Project Search is an innovative, successful model of teaching young people with disabilities skills to be effective employees by providing hands-on training in real-work setting. Tabor College agreed to be that setting, embracing the program as part of its mission. The program chose to be a unique hybrid model, accepting both special ed students and young adults up to the age of 30. The results of this program proved each year to be extremely successful. But at the same time, startup grant funds have since phased out, and long-term funding partnerships are necessary to sustain this vital program. The Harvey Marion County CDDO Governing Board has voted to consistently provide a reinvestment of funds at a level to be determined annually back into Marion County.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
That paperwork that I had initially gave you had part of his presentation was cut off, and I didn't recognize
I'm sorry.
that.
Is that my fault?
No.
So I just went and got you ones that had full information.
Do you want me to reread any of that? Okay, thank you. All right, Which leads then to the final piece of our Marion County FY 2021 funding request of $65,000. Our Marion County CDDO deeply appreciates the Marion County Commissioners' support of our organization and mission through appointments to our governing board. Passage of county resolutions is needed and reliable and timely quarterly funds since its inception in 2007. Any increase in funds that may become available will be reinvested in the Marion County Tabor College Project Search Program. We respectfully request your ongoing investment in the Harvey Marion County CDDO for local access to services and local accountability for outcomes. Take any questions if you had any.
I just want to comment, Kevin, on the Tabor Search Program. If any of us get the chance, we still have the same director that we just voted to go with him again for the program. I don't know how COVID's going to affect that program or anything yet, but if you want to see something that's interesting, that if you don't have any other ties to the people that receive, work and things, try seeing this right over in Hillsborough and Tabor College for Marion County Commissioners. So,
I've served as a mentor for 2 years now.
Yeah.
Oh.
So anyway, that's just something that is right here, and it's when we first started this Harvey Marion County, we didn't have that, and it's come along, and thanks to Tabor College, they've been willing to work with us too.
Absolutely, and Robert does a great job, and they, this is a little bit of a challenge with the virus thing.
Yeah.
They attend the monthly meetings, steering committee meetings, and they're working to try to accommodate this year's students. So,
And I know that the 4 that were in the class last year, 2 of them are working for Tabor now.
yeah, I know, and there's such great success stories those two. Anyway, yep. Yeah. Any other questions or comments? I kind of rushed through that. I apologize.
Anything that you see so far, I mean, after being here close to a year now, is there any new goals that you're looking at for the county? I mean, for the whole thing, program period?
Well, this year, with this year, I mean, we had some expectations that we were looking into as we had 4 employees in our office, and then COVID hit. And I know that's just sort of the standard answer that you're going to get, but right now, so I think we responded pretty decent to that. We didn't really close our office, our physical office closed, but we have cell phones that are our main lines, and we have secure access into our servers. So we just moved home through this bit now, 3 months. Kind of starting in July, we'll reopen our office. We'll have sort of a rotation schedule with one person being in there, and try to continue on through Zoom and the other ways of communicating. For most of our meetings, we have a lot of meetings. We're meeting, we do a lot of assessments and whatnot. We've been doing that through conference calls. So really, it's just trying to ensure that our, one of the big things that we've had to do, I heard Jesse Kay talk about it at Prairie View too, is reopening plans. We have a lot of providers that we affiliate with, and we're sort of charged with ensuring that they have a reopen plan that meets the health department's expectations, and then we sort of follow up and ensure that they're doing those social distancing. So we're sort of the quality assurance piece of that. So that's a new one for all of us, and so that's going to be kind of the new goal going forward this year anyway. I know that it's more of a situational thing.
We had one employee ready to retire and get out of it. I mean, just not, but that's where some options was able to, she could work at home and still stay employed and things. So I think that's become a good employee with us.
Yeah.
Big part of our office, I believe.
Yep.
She lives in Gossel.
Yep, and so do I.
And yes, this is another Gossel.
I'm a Marion County.
Yeah. Nice.
I should have said that at the beginning. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I forgot. I keep forgetting you come from there too.
I am, yes, right on Main Street. So, again, honored to be here this morning and thankful for my. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Guys. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Yeah.
How are you?
Good.
I'll let you guys have
Oh,
a
you need to have a
seat.
seat.
Just, yeah, I'll stand, that's all right, no problem. How are you guys all doing today?
All right.
You can pull that chair up if you like. And we could kind of look like one of the group.
I can do that. We just have a quick, a lovely couple did not realize that we had the neighborhood revitalization plan. And so they had already.
Yeah, when it had to be done.
I got the permit before I started.
So they have the permit, they have paid the fee and everything. We just need, since they had already started the project before they sent the information, like we've done before, we just have to have your guys' permission that we're okay to go ahead and list it as part of neighborhood revitalization. That's all. And they are putting up a 2-car garage.
Yeah.
And it's still not done, but it's still in the process. It's eventually be done.
Yeah.
When you're doing it yourself,
The-
it's
the
a little
older I
like, hold
get,
out
the
the
longer it
weekends.
So that's all we have, is
We're
just a
not very far
request.
behind, are we? I mean, did you tear one down and put one up?
Yes,
Yeah.
they're,
That's what I thought you did, yeah. And that's easy to evaluate between what
Absolutely.
you had and what you're doing?
absolutely.
Okay.
We're working on the neighborhood revitalization, getting it to the clerk's office already, and this was just noted that, oh, we don't have, we didn't have everything quite done yet.
We
So-
understood that it was to be at the end. Everything that we kept reading said like within 15 days when you're finished, bring in your receipts. And we're like, okay, well, we're not finished.
Yeah.
We still got siding to put on and
Okay.
painting and so that
Yeah, they're not
misunderstood
complete.
until we got the evaluation in the mail. It's like, why didn't our stuff go up? Do I
I'm
need to
hoping,
make it?
hoping
It's
by
like-
by the end of July to have everything
Thing
done.
done by then, hopefully.
So you got the evaluation, said, wait a
It
minute.
was like, yeah, I told him, I go, do I need to go to church? Do I need to go somewhere and tell them, hey, our values went up, want to know why? And
Yeah.
so I called in and they go, well, it's for your garage. I go, but the garage isn't done. It won't go until next year. Oh, no, part of it goes on this year. I go, okay, I did not know that. I was like, I thought it was when it was done. So that was a misunderstanding, I guess.
Mr. Chairman, we've done this before, so it's nothing new. Whether we continue this program or not, this commission, that's another one of our things that we need to look at, whether we continue this program, because just it's tax dollars, so.
Yeah. Well, you'll get them, because I don't plan on moving.
Oh, okay.
In 5 years, so. Eventually, you're gonna get it all. I didn't put wheels on it.
Did you want, I gave her a copy. I'll have to steal, okay, I see. Sorry, I could have brought more copies.
So, does the application have a number?
No, it's generally by the address and just to approve the late application.
Make a motion to approve the 3201 Quail Creek, Ramona, Kansas neighborhood revitalization plan. Second. Second by Ken. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right,
See you.
thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Next time I'm up there, I'm gonna pull in and see if it's done yet.
There you go. And look on the back side, because that's where he's working out.
Oh, okay, all right.
So let me know, I'll have a glass of tea ready.
All righty, I'll do that.
Have a great day, thanks.
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Josh, is he on? Oh, he's coming in.
Hey there.
Morning.
Morning.
The holidays.
Holidays. This 4th of July is on a Saturday. We're off on the Friday. I was wondering if we could go ahead and close on the 4th so my employees can be with their families on that day too, spend all day with them.
Yeah, and I think he's already got a plan put together to adjust for what takes place on Fridays, so.
What's your plan?
Friday, for the recycling, I think we're just going to stay open an extra hour or whatever it takes to be able to get Hillsborough in and dump their recycling. I'm going to dump our recycling bins. Marion does not do recycling
on that week, because it's a short week. So I'm just gonna stay open for an extra hour or so for Hillsborough and the dump our bins.
On what day? On Thursday?
Thursday.
So you would be on Friday, you would have 3-day weekend, just like the rest of the people,
Yeah.
is what you're.
Yeah, as long as they're good with it.
I've talked to Hillsborough, and they'd rather do that, if we could stay open a little late.
So they can go home Friday too.
So they,
Yeah.
because they're off Friday, and
Yeah.
so.
See a problem with that.
Yeah, I have to make a motion or to approve the 3rd off for.
Well, the 3rd is already a holiday for them, so it would be to
Extend hours.
allow them to close on the 4th.
Saturday.
Because they're generally open on Saturdays.
Oh, okay.
So they'll be paid on the 3rd. They're already closed. That'll be their holiday. And so the commission would just be voting to close the transfer station on Friday. And they would have to use comp time or vacation for that happening.
Yeah.
Because they're already getting their holiday pay
Yeah.
on the Friday.
Right. So, make a motion or entertain a motion to.
I'd make a motion that we close the transfer station on Saturday, July 4th, and stay open 1 hour later on July 2nd to accommodate recycling.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Dave, a second by Diane.
Say that right?
You did, good job.
Any other discussion? Not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Got a couple more things. Employees, I had one just turn his 2 weeks notice in, and last week I had to let one of them go. It's rough, but the other one, he just was not
Up to power.
up to power. Yeah, he wasn't showing up on time. I couldn't count on him too, so. The other one, he is on to bigger, better things, something with more money.
So you got 2 open spots.
2 open spots, yes, sir.
So you
Blasting all the
advertise it.
time where they can get a job. And I've referred them to the road and bridge, I referred them to custodial, I referred them. So,
Yep.
I keep them all in mind and pass some referrals on.
We had a couple good weeks of
Part
full
of
staff.
Yeah.
Part of the job you don't look forward to.
Yeah, that was a hard one. Just the white trash bin. I just got a few pictures. I'll just let you guys look at them. I do have. We leave it out over the week, through the week, overnights. I said, those are just a few pictures. People who pile up so high, pile around them. They even, through the weekends, they'll even pile trash around the recycle bin. Is that something I might be able to pull for the nights and put out about 7 o'clock in the mornings?
See, we discussed that before, and we were talking to Bud about putting a second bin out there, because the demand is obviously there, and it's a service that we provide. And we never did finalize anything, but I know we had discussed it.
Do you have another bin? No?
No, I don't. I know on Fridays, the bin I use, I took a top off a recycle trailer. So we can set it out there for people bringing the recycles in. It's got a little bit of trash. They can throw it in there. So it accommodates enough room for everybody.
I don't believe, in my opinion, we don't need to expand it by any means. We're gonna do something different when this new transfer station gets here. And there's no other place that I've been in a transfer station that sets something outside so you don't come into the transfer station and operate it. I totally disagree with expanding that anymore, because it's, even though maybe we expand our hours to handle some of the people that wants to be late, like what you're talking about in the evening or something, but to leave it out there all night and do what we're doing is just what you're gonna get. I mean, that, no matter what, how, you can put 10 out there and you'll still, if somebody wants to come fill them all up, you will. So I disagree with doing that at all.
Well, I know even if I remember correct, and I may be, but I remember, I think even the city of Marion was saying, you know, they have a definite need for the service that we're providing, because we had talked to, I think it was Roger, if I'm not mistaken, that people, you know, accustomed to the service, and they look forward to, because there were times when we went through the same thing, that the bin was not out, or it closed up at 4 o'clock, or whatever, and we ran into trouble there, and they were not happy. So, and I know that's what generated us to continue to speak about maybe one more bin. And I think Bud told us he built that bin, if I'm not mistaken.
They built that bin. The bin is taking its beating, and the bin's about done. You know,
So we just need to tough it out to the new station?
I didn't know how we was gonna do that with the new station, because we will have that opening through the day for people to throw into the floor and not have to come on the floor.
Yeah.
I know we put that bin out there because of the floor situation, to keep as many people off the floor.
Yeah, that's what it was
as
about,
possible.
yes.
So.
Correct.
So when the transfer station is built, the bin won't be out anymore, but there will be a place after hours to throw in?
Not after hours.
Not after hours. So the service is gonna go away anyway?
It'll go away, from what I've understood from it, yes.
That's what I'm saying. I
Throw
think,
your stuff right directly onto the floor.
I think if we
Outside.
wanna change some hours for some certain times through the week or something, that would be our scheduling problems to do that, to where somebody could be there and watch what goes on. You just don't wanna leave it to where nobody's there.
This is over the weekend, right?
This goes on from the weekends, just after night. We've had people, they'll wait until 4:30, 5 o'clock, and they'll fill it completely full.
Yeah.
And it's just 1 or 2 people that will fill.
Well, I would question that they're just waiting for 4:30 or 5. I'm thinking that after work, they're gonna swing by or something.
There's that kind of person, but there's the other type person that really does what he just said.
Really?
Yes, yes.
I understand the point of that, but.
Well, that's just the way it is now. Peabody, when we was doing something to this effect, it just was violated.
Same people every night.
Well, yeah, they had too much stuff. They did through tires. How many tires you get in? Not very many.
It varies. Sometimes we get 2 or 3, but in once in a while. But we get a lot of oil. People put oil in their jugs and they'll throw in there. We don't know that until we're pushing, we run them over, and then we have oil all over our floor.
No, that makes sense, what you said there, Randy.
Yeah.
Waiting till after.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a reason why they wait.
Yeah. I was just like, are they really just being that big of a thorn? No, okay.
Yeah. Get rid of the stuff that we don't want to take time to do.
Or we don't want to pay
They
for it.
don't want to pay for it. We've had Cindy, we've had people.
Cans of paint.
Cans of paint.
And so remember when we had people calling us, because on a Saturday or whatever, they were in town, they brought their garbage with them, and doggone, the bin wasn't there. Remember how we got phone calls from that?
This has just been started within the last couple of years. Bud started this.
Well, yeah, and people love it. I mean, it's a great service. I personally love it myself. I come in, throw garbage in there, and move on, go on. You know, and I understand why people love it, and I got phone calls, and I'm almost certain that you got some phone calls from the same people, but that they travel in 10 miles, 15 miles from the country or whatever, that the bin's not there. And we got into quite a bit of a deal about that before, because people are now accustomed to that service, and to just take it away, we're gonna go back to, I can almost promise you, we're gonna go back to that.
You got kind of things on the counter swing things too. You know, I don't like the fact that they're throwing some disposables in there and trying to get out of some bills or whatever. But on the other hand, if they weren't putting them in there, would they be putting them in some ditch?
Yeah.
And that, we talked about that, that's exactly right.
So, I mean,
There's both ways. You can look at it both ways.
We talked about that. That's how you get so many orphan tires, that's what they call them, orphan tires, I think that's it.
I did it wrong. I cleaned up a piece of property and I pulled about 30 tires out and I paid for every one of them to get disposed of.
Glad you did that.
So,
You're always gonna have those that abuse the situation,
Yeah.
you just can't get around it.
Well, that, still,
Yeah.
do we, I guess,
I'd like to try it when we get the new building open, if changing some hours and somebody's there. So at least they can't say it's not closed too early in the afternoon or something to that effect. Maybe we have 1 or 2 days that it's open, I don't know, until 6 o'clock, when the new one gets to going. So it's all right there. We don't have to spend time to go out and pick messes up like this. I mean, it's just, it's under, anybody in the city of Marion should be raising heck about it. I mean, because of the.
They do when the wind's blowing, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah.
I wonder,
Very true.
it's one of them doors, would be adaptable to be, I know it'd be a security thing, but if you could, you know, like your drop box at night, but I'm saying big size.
It may be.
And then that way it could get thrown in and thrown on the floor, and it goes right in the building.
You might have to be able to be, I think it needs to be cameraed if, no matter what, stuff like that. If there's different ways to do something to catch the people that don't do things right.
No, I just like recycling, I just think it's a service that the people become accustomed to. I mean, rural people can't always be here doing 9 to 5, or 8 to 4, whatever.
I just background, I think before you were just leaving it out during the day, and then he was taking it in at night and putting it back out in the mornings at 7, and then you went to, the last thing that was done was you went to leaving it out, putting it out at 7 in the morning on Monday and leaving it out there till noon on Saturday. And then dumping it as needed in between there, so that's what is being done now, I believe.
Yeah, I've seen people pull up and throw it on the ground during the week, got the bins full, they haven't had a chance to come out and do it, this is during regular hours.
Yeah, part of that
Sure
too.
you've seen it too.
They see the $5 fee probably, and they think, well, I don't pay that, so they put it out there on the ground next to the dumpster.
Yeah.
I don't know, there's no good solution that they could just head down and keep going until the new building gets built and try to.
I just wanted to address that, and, you know, so, okay. That's all I have, so.
Makes a hassle for your employees, I know that.
Yeah.
And the hazardous waste.
Yeah, we've had acid, people throw chunks of acid in there.
Oh,
And luckily they've caught them, they've never ran them over, they've caught them as they come out. So,
Yeah,
We definitely need to be thinking about a camera system for that new transfer station.
oh, yeah.
For after-hour security.
yeah.
And post signs saying you're under surveillance.
Yeah.
I think we legally have to, so. If you do. Anything else?
That's it.
All right, thanks, Josh.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Oh.
I'm just moving out of the hot seat.
All right, the next thing on the list is a commission discussion of recycling over our work session. So I'm going to make a motion to approve the $82 a ton for taking recycling.
How did we say we were gonna do that? Will we be weighing that, when Hillsborough or?
It's always
Marion
weighed.
Bring it in,
Yeah,
it'll be weighed, and then a weight ticket will be issued or something, like they do at the scale at the co-op or something, so that everybody's on the same. I don't wanna get into a battle where you're charging me for this many tons and we've only brought this many tons. I mean, I really think if we're gonna go this way, we need to have complete documentation.
Josh, you want to explain your system, what the cities do with trash trucks?
Trash trucks, recycles, we do it all. They come up on scale. Everybody knows they weigh in. We have their empty weights, so they don't have to weigh out again. The recycling, we do have charge tickets. We can set the charge tickets up and just figure it out for them. And they get a copy, and I have 2 copies that we can take down and can send them a bill at the end of the month.
So is that something you can do or you
Yes.
have been doing?
We can do,
Okay.
we do that for our C&D. We have people that we charge for, so
We're set up to do that, we just add the recycle to it.
Okay, I was just wanting to make sure that it's, just up front and everybody knows, so that we don't have an extra ticket that nobody knows that it was us.
How far does our ticket information go, Josh? Do you go date, time, and number of pounds?
It does, the ticket does the date, the time, and puts their empty weight and their loaded weight, and it figures out how many pounds they have. Then we just divide that by your 2,000.
Okay. That's pretty
And that'll figure out the tons they have, so.
And your motion includes anything that's brought in as far as recycling?
As far as recycling, so I mean, if you bring in 100 pounds, you're gonna do the 1/20th of a ton.
On a truck or individuals recycling them?
Individual recycling, yeah. Okay. I just put down recycling is
Yeah.
costs. So.
Yeah.
You're talking about private people bringing in recycling would be charged.
Yes.
Also.
Yep. I think I'll have to second that. I'm just trying to figure if that's recycling as of right now.
It's
Yep.
$82 a ton.
Yep.
No matter how small the amount, you break it down, you still come up with a nickel a pound. I mean, you're still gonna come up with something.
I'd like to add to that, though, we just mentioned it the other day in budget, was what if the price goes up, if the price goes down? Does the price adjust?
I think we talked about if that changes, we'd have to revisit it.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, I didn't.
Yeah, we did
It's
talk
not
about
gonna go
if
down.
it goes down, so it would, I guess I think it goes unsaid if it goes up, it goes both ways.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'll still second it.
So did you include that in the motion?
The motion, what I wrote down was to approve an $82 a ton fee for accepting
let
recycling.
me
The effective date.
amend that, $82. My motion will be for $82 a ton, across the board, lower weight, not a complete ton, whatever the breakdown is, $82 a ton.
Second.
I'm not sure I know what that means, but that's okay. You just mean, even if it's just a small amount, it would be the $82 a ton?
Yeah, so if it's
One
1 pound.
percentage of a ton.
Yeah, if it's 1 pound, it'll be whatever one.
We're not, you're not
One
gonna
to
charge for
2,000.
1 pound.
I'm gonna say, no, wait a minute, we can't.
You need to have a minimum, you don't charge for 100 pounds or less, something like that, I mean.
But how can we hold this? Are you just gonna be on the day that he recycles only? I mean, what I'm saying, he's not gonna be able to hold this through this next few months.
Right. No, it's gonna have to be the day that he recycles, he doesn't take recycling
It's
except
not
for
every day.
Right.
that day, so.
Does anybody else bring in a lot of recycling besides me? Once a year, I'll have 2 or 3 pallets of cattle, and I got several thousand pounds I bring in once a year. I don't know if anybody else does that too.
Just our individuals, people they might save up for a month and bring
Yeah.
in.
But you don't want to charge the public household.
What?
Well, if somebody brings in
included-
200 pounds of cardboard boxes, a pickup load, are you gonna charge them?
I thought so. I thought
According
it
to the
applied
motion, yes, I
everybody,
believe
yes.
it's of anyone.
Mhm.
Let's just take fireworks right now, is I'm gonna have, I don't know, 5 to 6 big boxes full of smashed, of cardboard, and I try taking it to people that still has the cardboard recyclers, and so that they get some money off of it, but at the same token, we're not recycling, so I, unless that day of that, I guess, or the day of your trailers you are. So if they're gonna bring that in on that day, then I would expect to be charged, I suppose.
That's good. And let me just clarify, what I understand is what you're saying, if it's under a ton, it would be prorated accordingly. Okay.
That's what I meant to say, I kinda got a little sloppy.
That's okay, that's kind of
You
what I.
don't have no way of going 50 pounds, do you?
On your scales.
I do 20 pound increments.
No.
Is
Okay.
all, is as low as my scale will do is 20 pound increments.
Yeah, so if somebody comes in with 18 pounds, it's gonna be 20 pounds, so they get charged for it.
Yeah.
So there really is kind of a minimum.
Yeah, yeah.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No.
Got one question. The recycle bins then, the ones we have out, we still gonna keep them out? We're gonna pull them and?
We'll have to pull it and readdress that later.
Yeah, otherwise, that's where all the recycling is going.
What's the effective date of this, and
Yes.
then perhaps we can get information out to the public?
I'd say effective. I'll make a motion to make it effective July 1st. Second by Ryan. And that would be for pulling the bin and notifying the tonnage billing. Still got your second?
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry to make your life complicated.
Oh, that's all right. I'll get her figured out.
We always try to walk that line, you know?
I'll get her figured out. That's all right. Good job. Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. All right. So.
Is it okay to go through all the comments that have come in on the, when you go into public comments, just so
Oh,
that
yeah.
all the commissioners are aware?
Yeah.
If they haven't been on the meeting?
And I'm gonna do that right now. We're going to public comments and,
Do you just want me to read them?
yeah.
Okay. This morning at 9:28, we had Laura Paulus that said she was having trouble hearing Commissioner Novak. And I responded, is that better? I turned up the microphone and she said, yes, that is better. Had a private comment made to me individually from Amy Sawyer that she called back in again, but the meeting, there is static really bad, not sure what happened. And I asked her if that was on the phone, and she said, it's a steady from when y'all are talking. It's never been like that before. I just thought you should know. It's really odd and makes harder to hear, but it's now too. And I sent a message to, since that was just to me, I sent a message to everyone asking if are people on the virtual meeting hearing static. I had someone saying they were hearing a lot of static today. I am curious if others are having the same issue. Travis Parmley said yes. Laura Fowler-Paulus said yes. Amy said it's better when the callers are talking, so it's definitely your microphone. And then I had a private question just now sent only to me that from Amy Sawyer asking if Peabody is having their fireworks display. Those are all the comments I've received on the meeting today.
You gonna answer the question? Or did
Tina
you-
knows just as well as I do, her husband's a mayor.
Well, I didn't know if that was a private question to me, and I don't know if that's really, I mean,
Yeah,
commission business, but.
Yeah, I think it's a private question because she's probably realizing that it's got nothing to do with the commission.
Right, but I
Why
can
would they
respond
do
to it
that?
if you'd like.
I don't understand why they would send a private question to a public
Well,
comment.
because
commission.
there's multiple ways to communicate in this application, and that's why.
Tina's trying to be
I
very
think-
transparent, so
I think
that's why.
Well, I
Tina,
like
if
that
you-
she read that, I'm
I
sorry.
think if you feel it's important to you, I think it's important to Peabody, and so the public knows and people what they're doing. If you've got the good straight scoop on it, go right ahead.
Well, I don't particularly, I mean,
Something to
I know
change.
that they are still
Alright.
doing they will not be allowing people into the park for the fireworks show. They are going to be doing mostly aerials this year, so encouraging people still to come and watch it from their cars or watch it from other locations.
Yes,
They are
that's
also
what
going to be
that's not-
streaming it on Facebook Live, I believe. They are still selling buttons, and they are still having several of the events throughout the day, but I don't know exactly which ones. So the best way to find that information would be to contact the city of Peabody or to look on the Peabody Fireworks Facebook page. They have their own Facebook
Cool.
page, and so all of that would be on
More
there.
than I did. I knew she did.
So-
I think I recall that they were gonna try to do aerials and not
Yeah,
do the.
that's what I'd heard.
Yeah, light up displays, because it
So
created
that's-
too much gathering.
Yeah.
That's what I know.
Yeah, that's
And
what I
again,
heard.
I'm not an official source, but that's
No.
what I have heard.
Sounds like what I've heard.
Okay.
Any other public comments? I don't don't see any jumping in. I don't see anybody out in the hall. Okay, with that, I'll close the public comment. And go on to commission comments. Brad is here. I just want to make sure there's not a block of time that
We do need an executive session for personnel for 10 minutes. Put that in, yeah.
So on the commission comments, I wanted to just mention that I was glad to get this memo from Tina from the candidates on the change of the putting out of the signs.
yeah.
I didn't, I was thinking too, what we were always told, the 29, I think it's 29 days, which would have been July something. And I have noticed a lot of signs in the rule going up a lot earlier. I never said anything about it, but I know some people were very upset about it because they were waiting on the 29-day rule, but now that we have new statutes and things, that I'm glad that we were finally brought up to date on it.
Okay, and what that is we had years ago in our office prepared a document just to try to help candidates to know when some of the deadlines were, and so some of that information was not updated after a law change, and so we had some old information that said that signs in the county could not be placed before 29 days ahead of the election, and that's no longer accurate. And so when I found out that that people had asked questions and we had answered it incorrectly, I wanted to be sure to send out a memo with the correct information to every local candidate that at the county level. So that's what she's referring to.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I haven't picked my mail up yet, so I didn't get it.
What's that?
I didn't pick my mail up yet.
Oh, well, you should
You
have
said-
one in there,
Yeah.
because it says city candidate, so maybe you didn't get yours yet.
Oh, I didn't get mine. I ain't took mail up Saturday either.
Probably
Just
in
to
your
the
box.
mailbox.
Well, as soon as I found out, I wanted to make sure that all candidates
True.
knew.
So what happens after the primary, we're gonna pick our signs up again?
So the county zoning regulations do say that you have 7 days to pick up the sign after the primary if you are eliminated.
Is limited.
Right, if somebody that's not eliminated could leave them up clear until 7 days after the general election, but that's what the information in your memo and the statute says. So, okay. And I don't believe we'll be providing the information for people in the future. It was just a service we were trying to do to help kind of keep information in one place, but
Clarify.
we'll just do the county's information and let every city do their own. So.
Right, the cities could have
They
their
don't do
own
anything up yet, so.
rules.
And that's stated in your memo, that the cities may have their own rules, but it should not be in conflict with that KSA that I provided.
Yeah. Okay. Is there any other commission comments before we go into an executive? Okay. Then I will move that we recess into executive session in order to discuss item number 1, or no, item number 2, personnel, consultation with our attorney, attorney-client privilege, for a matter of 10 minutes with the board and Brad, resume back at 11:25 pursuant to KSA 75-4319B.
Can you be a little bit more specific, Brad, as far as the personnel matters, so that,
Non-elected personnel to preserve the privacy of the individual being discussed who's an employee of the county.
Okay, so move that we recess into executive session in order to discuss item number 1, personnel matters of non-elected personnel. For a matter of 10 minutes. Board and Brad. To resume back at 11:25 pursuant to KSA 75-4319. Second, the virtual meeting, to be back at 11:25. That's what I meant. Second by Randy. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There we go, one here.
Did you have trash?
Yeah, we got one down here.
Here you go.
Okay, I
Bring
thought you had
it
some.
down.
This conference will now be recorded.
Out of executive session, no action taken. Hearing no other commissioner comments earlier, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Second by Kent. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Just in time.
Just missed it, didn't we?
Yeah.
Damn it.
I did.
I had something to say too. I guess we'll wait till next time.